Hi folks, I'm the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. Today, one of the common ways of getting rid of your unused or unwanted items is to sell it. Often, it used to be on Craigslist, but more often now you'll find it on Marketplace. And I am constantly scrolling through Marketplace, and I am amazed at the mistakes that people make when they're trying to sell their goods. And I'm not talking about junk here, I'm talking about pretty decent stuff. I have actually bought things, and with just a couple of actions, I should say, I'm able to actually make a profit. So what I'm going to show you today is not for sale, but it is a typical example of what I see on Marketplace when people are trying to sell something. Look, if you're selling something, you're avoiding the work of having to go out and buy it new. You're hoping to get a profit for it. But I'm going to show you my mower. Now, let me turn and look up here. Under the trees up there, under the pine trees, and here's another example. I typically will blow my pine needles up around the trees, and I've had it that way for the last few years. And recently, I took the zero turn and raised the deck up high, so I was kind of like bush hogging, and a lot of weeds had grown up in them, and I despise to weed eat, and of course there's a little poison oak that grows up in it. So what I did is raise my deck and just chopped the top layer of weeds down around the trees. So here's what the mower looks like. Look at the debris that is around the deck, even up on the area, the platform where my feet go. Now this is not terrible, but the mower is just not presentable. It's not as dirty as it used to be because I wash it from time to time. But I looked this week at what looked to be a pretty decent little push mower, and I was amazed that the person did not just take the time to take his water hose out and spray off the dirt, to take his broom out and remove the debris. It looked like he had pretty similar debris that I just showed you all over his push mower, and it made the thing look like a rat trap. And it was simply, it probably sits under a shed, and if you have to store equipment outside, I've seen birds build nests, I've seen mice build nests. So you just want to clean that stuff up. In fact, I took a mower here a year or two ago, a push mower, that was in used condition. And what had happened is the owner had to leave it sitting outside. He didn't have a place to store his mower. He ended up with water in the gas. So I took the old gas out, cleaned out the gas lines, and by the way, he was giving this thing away, just wanted somebody to haul it off. So I got the thing for free, cleaned out the gas lines, put fresh gas in it, got it started, and let it run long enough to pull any moisture out of that carburetor. And of course I put some gas line treatment in it as well. But what I'm saying is I didn't have to remove the carburetor. I didn't have to do any mechanicking. I just did a little cleaning, and I sold the thing for like 150 bucks. Had another mower here I did the same thing with. So with minimal effort, you can really go a long way. So clean the dirt off. If you have a pressure washer, pressure wash the thing. Make it look as presentable as you can, and you will do yourself a great deal of benefit in selling something. The second thing, and this one is really a pet peeve of mine, learning to express yourself. Now, I stutter and carry on when I'm speaking aloud, and that's because I'm not using a script. I'm basically being as spontaneous as I can. So sometimes I get a little tongue-tied as I'm thinking of the next thing I want to say. But you don't have that problem when you are writing. People, learn to use punctuation. Learn to use capitalization. You know, the first word of a sentence. When you write as if you didn't have an education, you come off as ignorant. We should not be representing ourselves. So even if you don't have the vocabulary to describe something, you can Google it and get a nice set of technical specifications that makes it sound like you know what you're talking about. So, you know, and here's another thing. When you're selling something online and you say, I read this week, mower runs really good, just needs some work. Well, if it needs work, it's not running really good. You don't pay premium money for something that just needs some work. You need to specify. If it needs work, that's fine. Specify what that work is. It needs a throttle cable. It needs a new bagger or a new wheel on the left side. You know, be very specific, and you will help yourself because it will sound like you know what you're talking about. I know that as a buyer, and I love to wheel and deal. That's just in my blood. When you're telling me, I have this mower, but I don't know anything about it, I don't believe that. What that typically is interpreted to mean is that there's something wrong with it, and you're going to claim ignorance so that you don't have to tell me what it is. I'll tell you how articulating the details will help you. A few years ago, and I don't know, last year in a video or the year before, whenever I started, I actually gave an example. I had an old used wood splitter, hydraulic wood splitter. The thing jumped off the ball when I was hauling it to a job site, and it ended up doing flips, end over end flips, and it destroyed the thing. It broke the frame, it tore off the hydraulic lines, but I had a hydraulic cylinder that was intact. I had a Honda engine that was just super. It was intact. So I listed the thing for like $150, and the same day a guy was jumping at the bits because he knew what it needed to be fixed. I showed the frame is broke in this spot. The hydraulic hoses have been broken off here, so you'll need to replace the hydraulic hoses, and you'll need to weld. I don't weld. So he said, man, I got a welder and I work next door to a place that does hydraulic hoses. I sold the thing for $150, and it was junk, but I could pull the starter cord and fire the Honda engine right up, which I did, and included that in the information. And I went and bought myself a new wood splitter. So learn to articulate. Don't be afraid to look at other ads and see which ones pop, and try to make your ads pop, and it will go a long way. Try to sound like you know what you're doing. Convince people that you know what you have as well. And don't be afraid to say no, by the way. Social media for sale sites like Craigslist and like Markeplace are filled with people like me who are looking for a bargain, who are looking to turn something over and make a profit, or just who enjoy playing the game, you know, the wheeling and dealing. So price it where you have some wiggle room, but don't price it to where it's ridiculous. Another good thing to include is OBO, or best offer. That doesn't mean that you have to take every offer that's out there. I had one guy, I sold something years ago, it was a baker's rack, and I have no idea what I priced it for, but let's say I priced it at $150, and the guy said, what's your best price? I said, $250. He said, huh? I said, you asked me what my best price is, and my best price is what is most advantageous to me. So if you're asking me you don't like my price, I'll just go up. I said, I've already given you a price. You don't even have money on the table, and you're asking me to come down. Why don't you make an offer? And guess what? I sold it at full price. So learn how to negotiate. There's an old rule in trading. Don't trade even, and don't give boot. Know what you've got. Sometimes what I've got is something that, if I don't sell it, is going to be hauled off. So anything I get is better than nothing. But other times I've got something that's fairly valuable, and I'm going to stick with that. So just some basics. Clean up your stuff. Make it look as presentable as possible. If it's sitting in a junk pile, pull it out of the pile so it doesn't look like it's sitting in a junk pile. Learn to express yourself, especially in writing, in a way that sounds intelligent, that has details that any buyer should want, and you will go a long way to not only being more successful as a salesperson, but leaving a customer feeling like they came out good in the situation. So it was just a little insight from the bald guy who loves to wheel and deal. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you'll leave us a like. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. I've been offline for a few weeks here, just doing other things. So this is getting back into communication with you. I hope you'll leave us a comment as well, and have a wonderful day. See you next time.